June 4th, 2025. Pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
O'Brien. Duff.
Here.
Giannini.
Here.
McNutt.
Here.
Claiborne. Here. Kuznicki.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien had mentioned after the meeting last week, after our work session, that he might have a family obligation tonight, might not be able to be here, and he did send me an email.
Motion to excuse Mr. O'Brien, as previously noted.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giannini. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just one other comment about Jennifer Hanson's seat is also empty tonight. She's actually upstairs working on the budget right now. So if for some reason there's anything that comes up during the discussion tonight and we need to get her input, she's more than available. So.
Item number 4, before we open it up, I'd just like to mention that we're also going to open up for when we get to number 5. So if there's areas of concern, when it comes to item number 5, will be the time to really speak about it. So number 4, it'll be the opportunity to speak about anything you want. And just a little cliff note, some people probably wondering why we have a special meeting here. There's been concerns about parking access and signage and a lot of different things with the Ventura. And so it's been a long time. It's tried to be rectified unsuccessfully. We've had a third party come and look at it, give some recommendations, and one of the recommendations was to have a meeting, and so that's why we're here. Okay, so everybody can kind of voice their concerns if there are any. So with number 4, we have motion open.
Motion open.
Second.
Motion by Duff, seconded by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Motion to close.
Nobody's going to talk. I'm happy to talk. This is the opening.
Well, this is for item number 4, we call the public.
Tell the public.
So
This is where we should stay.
well, we're going to open it up on item number 5 also, when for the Ventura parking concerns.
Okay.
So,
Black and white.
yeah, if you like.
Perfect.
Yep.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 5 now, the Ventura Drive parking concerns.
Make a motion to open.
I'll second.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff to open. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're open for item number 5, so anybody that wishes to get up and speak regarding item number 5? Now's the time.
I would say,
Go ahead.
I would say there is
Well,
no issue. And I
Do you want to?
If I could have you just come up to the mic and give name and address, if you'd like to speak.
236.
If you'd like come up to the mic for us. Yeah. Thank you.
My address, my name is Barbara Lindman. I'm at 2364 Ventura, which is right in the cul-de-sac. And I would say we have no parking issue, that the things that have been done are adequate, and we have no reason to spend any more time or money or anything on this issue.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Yeah. If you'd like to speak, come up to the mic, name, address.
I'm sorry.
So if you'd like to speak, just come up to the mic, name, address, and yep, so we can.
My name is Darlene Schmitling. I live at 2360 Ventura. I've lived in that house for close to 30 years. And in that time that my husband and I have lived there, we have not seen any issues that would cause there to be any more money spent on parking. Yes, on occasion, there have been parties, graduations. Tiki night is one of them, where there have been parking issues, to be expected. But in our neighborhood, we've always shared accommodations. We've always helped each other out. We've always had no problems whatsoever. We've not even had problems with a fire truck pulling into the yard that they can't back up on, which relates to the parking area that you have changed.
Ms. Schmeling, if you'll address us, please, thank you.
I'm sorry?
If you'll address us. If you address us.
And I haven't
Sorry.
changed anything. I know you're looking at me, but I haven't charged, I haven't changed.
Mr. Daly, she has her moment, thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
However, my question to Mr. Petrich would be, why does he want to change this issue when none of us have ever had a problem with it in the past? Is it to suit his benefit? Seems to me that's likely so. So I agree with Mrs. Lindman that we have not had any issues. In the 30 years that I reinstate that I've lived in that house. So it's said. Let it be what it'll be.
Thank you.
Darlene, my name is David.
Sorry?
My name is David.
Okay. You told me I can't talk to you.
Tom Pollard, 2348 Ventura. I live on the other end of Ventura, so I'm not going to talk about that end of Ventura, let the residents that live there discuss that. But in one of your working meetings in the minutes, you talked about one of the solutions was to add parking on that island between Solano and Ventura. And I'm here to support that. I think that would be a really good idea. As you can see, there is not a lot of space for parking in there. The island's not doing anything as it is. It's not really beautifying anything, so we might as well make it functional and add some parking.
Anybody else?
Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. I sent this to each of your emails this afternoon, but I brought a couple of extras just in case you hadn't got to them. I don't expect a lot of the people to know what's going on here because they aren't really impacted by it at all, okay? The current problem I asked the village to solve or to resolve for me was with the public property. Public property that's in front of my private driveway at 2377. The property, if you look at it up there, right, services, right, it's a right-of-way, and it services, and it was deeded and dedicated as a public use for the village, public use. It services two private properties, okay, that it sits directly in front of as a primary function. It also provides secondary site access to through traffic and staging for emergency vehicles if necessary. Both the village engineer and the TIA agree that the historical design of this, the hammerhead design, is compromised versus current standards. Around 2014, 60% of that public area in front of my property was permitted by the village to be developed into a private driveway. The action ignored unique requirements of that public property, and it's further compromised its use, its public use, for me over the last 10 years. So I don't know that anybody here but me is going to have that impression, but that impression is true. The changes that were made created long-term issues, or have created long-term issues with access to my private property using this public right-of-way. They're not only allowing people to park in it, but driving people to park routinely out beyond the area now that is labeled as no parking, right? And it blocks even a greater portion than the 60% that is already a current private property. Drive, okay? 2015, or the 2025 presentation that I provided you guys, right, it fully documented all of the people that are doing it. You guys have hundreds of photographs that have been provided showing that this is happening, right? The village's been contacted numbers of times, right? It's not disputable that there are issues here, even though other people within the area may not believe that there are. There are. You've seen them, right? You agreed at the February 25th meeting that there was an issue here. The TIA suggested 3 other things besides having a meeting, which I have no problem with, right? One of them was for no parking markings. The second was for traffic order, right? Those 2 things have already been done, right? They haven't solved the problem, okay? You saw the pictures that you saw, I sent in 40 of a couple hundred that have happened since 2018, because it's still occurring on a routine basis, right? At the time that we made the changes in 2018, there weren't any issues, and I don't hear of anybody saying there's any issues with people parking down or getting pushed out into the other areas of Ventura or Solano, okay? If there are, right, as another person suggested, there's more than enough room on that circle to convert that into parking if it's going to displace anything, which I don't think it would. But if it does, there's more than enough room there. People are parking there already, even though it's listed as a no parking area. So it's only going to make that area safer, right? So the only corrective action that hasn't been taken that was proposed by the TIA was to pave the right-of-way fully in front of the 2 properties that I've talked about, right? And the reason why this actually makes sense is because it will ensure that public property is clearly defined, right? It'll reduce uncertainty with proper use, and it'll enable proper enforcement of the use of this area, because proper enforcement hasn't been happening over the last 5 years either. I'm going to say one other thing. It's been suggested in previous discussions, right, that somehow people have expected requirements for right-of-way easements for their driveways, right? And while this situation does occur in some village areas and in many village areas, right, that capability doesn't exist in that area, right? It's already compromised. So doing that and actually trying to push those right-of-way areas out isn't going to help. If you want to provide opportunities to all those properties in the area, the driveways would be projected so far out into the property lines that the people that are now using it in this manner would be in worse condition than what I am. So bringing that up is not going to help solve anything by trying to say we need to do something and adjust and let people park in that right-of-way area, right? The only way to do it is to actually take that property and make sure what's public is public and what's private is private. All right? So a couple of final thoughts here, right? I could have put in a driveway blocking the access to other driveways, right? Way before. I've been here for a long time, right? I could have put in a driveway that went and did the same thing to my neighbor, right? Tom Daly, 2381 Ventura. I'm going to take my other time because I own the house next to it, if that's okay with you. I could have parked my vehicles in the same area over this last 10 years. I could have blocked people just the way I'm getting blocked right now, okay? I could have done this for the last 10 years, right? Just like I could have put a driveway in that blocked it too. You know what? I chose to do neither of those things. You want to know why? Because 2 wrongs don't make a right, okay? Right? No private property has the right to prevent access to public property of anybody else, right? The current implementation clearly undermines that whole equal use proposition, right? Putting that driveway in 10 years ago in that manner was wrong. Not doing anything about it for 10 years was wrong. Those 2 wrongs don't make a right either. And not doing anything now to correct the situation after another 10 years is only going to make 3 wrongs not be right. So I'm asking you guys to do the right thing. I'm asking you guys to pave the public property so that it's known, so that it enables the proper, so that it can clarify the public property and enable the proper enforcement that's been due. What's there right now is just confusing. So again, I thank you for your time. And I hope everybody else will understand that. Just because they don't see it as an issue doesn't mean it isn't an issue. And I think you guys confirmed that on February 25th with the information that's been provided to you. Thank you very much.
I just got one quick comment regarding the TIA recommendations. The recommendation from TIA was to reconstruct Ventura Drive. So it's all one material in the right-of-way. It doesn't specify property or anything else. So it basically specifies, Ventura paving the right-of-way as it is. So that's to clarify what their recommendation is. So it's not just one area, it was the whole area. So just to clarify.
Evening. Joe Goodison, 2373 Ventura. I wanted to share a little bit of a timeline with everyone because I'm not sure everybody has been involved since the beginning. But in June of 2011, my wife and I applied to the ZBA for construction of a new home, which was approved. Pics on the ZBA package show the old driveway as well as the neighbor's paved driveway that is existing in the same layout today. There was no action taken through the courts as a result of the ZBA variances or approval at that time. July 2012, we finished our build. Our build was approved. Our certificate of occupancy was obtained. Between the years of 2011 and 2019, we have been subject to a campaign of complaining against us from the complainant. Noise from construction crews, a trampoline that generated noise from children laughing, a fire pit, garage can placement, parking, and it continues to this day. In April of 2019, Mike Powell met with me because the village was considering widening the cul-de-sac, which would reduce a portion of my existing driveway as well as the neighbors to the north. I believe at the time that the cul-de-sac, they wanted to have it large enough for an emergency vehicle to do a turnaround. I believe that was the cause. And I said, you do what you got to do, but he said if we agreed to this, all matters past and present would end. And I was assured that all matters past and present would end because, as you can see, it hasn't ended. From 2019 to 2025, continued complaints to the village. February 2025, another complaint. The village hired TAA back in April, and today here in June. The complainant has driven over the same area of the driveway to enter and exit his property as he always has. The pictures on the ZBA variance proposal in 2011 show the exact same layout. He has continued to be extremely aggressive in his driving, speeding in and out of the driveway when people were present in mine, driving into the driveway and turning the tires of his 4x4, creating tire marks to try and intimidate and prove his obsession and level of instability. And the best nonviolent way that I have been able to come up with to protect myself, my wife, and my children has been to keep him as far away as I can and not enable him to drive deep into my driveway. As far as safety, the TIA concluded there have been 0 accidents in this area since January 1st of 2020. I contend there have been 0 accidents since our arrival in 1999, perhaps ever. That is, we live on a quiet, low-volume, dead-end street. Over the last 3 years, we have been able to utilize my mother's driveway next door. She's been gracious enough to park cars there to make the matter better. We had, at one point, 6 licensed drivers in our household. That number will be reduced to 2 in approximately 8 weeks. 3 out of 4 of our children have graduated college, are grown, moved out of state, or are about to. Since 2011, we have seen 3 village administrators and 4 to 5 different village councils. None of these village administrators or village councils have seen any issues in which to intervene. Mr. Daly's arguments related to access and traffic flow and long-term problems and confusion and proper enforcement are not reality. Nobody on the street has any issues with my driveway but Mr. Daly. Myself, my family, our guests have used our driveway without complaint. I ask that the council take no action with respect to Mr. Daly's complaints about our driveway and the use of the cul-de-sac. Thank you for your time.
Mr. President and Mr. Gillum, is it possible that we can do without the 5-minute thing, since this is why we are meeting tonight, to give people an opportunity to say what they want to say, no matter who it is?
It needs to be fair for everybody. Everybody
That's what I'm saying.
needs a specific amount of time so everybody has a chance to speak. If not, then it just turns into chaos.
Can I relinquish my time if I say nothing to
Well,
someone else?
that's what I'm saying, that, yes, I mean, give everybody equal opportunity in time. The reason we're meeting tonight is because of this issue in Ventura. So if these people don't have an opportunity to say what they want to say, no matter who they are, whether it be Mr. Daly or anybody else, I just don't think it's fair. I'm just asking the question.
Well, the 5 minutes is set pursuant to council policy.
Isn't it for normal council meetings, because there's a full agenda, 2-page or 3-page agenda?
I don't think the policy differentiates between
Okay.
special meetings and regular meetings. If council wants to do something different, council can do that. But at the same time, we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people speak that have had a 5-minute time limit. So-
Well, I didn't mean to, whatever. If they want to come back and speak, are they allowed to come back and speak?
It's up to council. Again, we're talking about what the council's policy is. It's not my policy.
Yeah.
It's not Mr. McNutt's policy. It's the council policy.
So as a council, if we want to allow people a second opportunity tonight, we can. So we just need a motion second, we can vote on, right? So that's what we need for it.
I would say so, yes.
We can do that? Well, I guess I'd like to make a motion to just open it up to the amount of time that everybody needs to express their opinion.
Which would include those that have already spoken. having
Exactly.
Opportunity to come back.
Absolutely. Those
Okay.
that are here have already spoken, and those that yet to speak.
Motion by Kaznicki, second by Laybourne. Let's have a roll call.
Newman?
No.
Laybourne? Yes. Kiznicki?
Yes?
Jeremini?
Yes.
O'Brien? Duff?
No.
McNutt?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have no time limit on public comment.
Tonight.
So everyone is
I'm just
clear.
talking about tonight.
Just so everyone is clear. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello, I'm Brian Lindman, 2364 Ventura Drive, which is just adjacent to the cul-de-sac on the north side. I've been living there since 2009. Besides being a resident, I'm the vice chairman of the Planning Commission, on the Parks and Rec Board, and on the Finance Committee. From everything I can see there, once they striped that no parking, I think it resolved whatever issue used to be of potentially blocking an emergency vehicle. People are very good about observing that. I mean, we do get delivery vehicles come in there and stop. I wouldn't say park, but stop. And just about everyone can read and sees that and observes the signs, the markings on the pavement, and and I've never seen anybody park there for any length of time since that striping's gone down. And if anybody stops for more than 5 or 10 minutes, Mr. Daly's out there running them off. I mean, I had a junk hauler come and was parked there for literally, he had a couple wheels on the no parking area for about 5 minutes and was already getting a response. So there's no issue that I can see. I wouldn't want to see the village spend any kind of money on paving that. I don't think there's any problem getting past the no parking in the public right-of-way to get into and out of the driveways that Mr. Daly needs to get in and out of. So I just don't see why anything would need to be spent and why any more paving would need to happen in that cul-de-sac. It just makes no sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that want to talk again?
Sure, I'll say again. Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. I can understand why all these people are sitting here saying there's no problem. They're not the one that has to drive around stuff every time that they go out of their garage. Whether it's 30 seconds, 5 minutes, or 50 minutes, right? That's what I'm into. And I'm into that problem specifically because the village has allowed public property to be made into private property. Okay? That's not something I chose, right? That's not something that was, that can't happen. There's certain ways where that can happen when there's nobody else. But that services two properties. It doesn't service one property. It services two properties, right? And so while nobody else may care if I have to drive around them or my 80-year-old father has to somehow manage to wriggle his way out of there because there's people parked 10 feet beyond where the stripes are that maybe somebody else didn't see because they're not down there all the time, I don't know that they can give you a really good idea of what's going on there. You have hundreds of pictures showing people parked out beyond the parking lines. They are disregarding the parking lines. When people go to pull up, they don't pull into the driveway. There's open driveway and they park out in the right-of-way. So the design itself is flawed. The only way to make it work is to actually pave the public property to make sure everybody knows it's public property and people shouldn't be parking in that area in illegal manners. Okay? So I get everybody's all upset because they think I'm trying to force them to do anything. As far as the money is concerned, the village has had 2 times to be able to do this, right? They could have changed this the last time it was done and made it proper. Prior village felt that the 2 things that had been done would be able to actually address it, okay? You know from the pictures that I sent you, that's not the case. In the last 5 years, I sent a couple hundred pictures showing you guys people parked well out into the right-of-way, okay? So I get everybody all upset with me because I want to try and change something there. I guess I just ask for them to be a little bit understanding because they're not the ones that are going through it or have gone through it for 10 years. Thank you.
Do I have to come up there? Can you hear me? Darlene Schmittling, 2360 Ventura. I know I'm not supposed to talk to Mr. Daly. Excuse me for giving you the wrong name. I would like to know exactly how he thinks that area can be changed without infringing on anybody else's driveway or parking area. And I haven't heard that. He's giving us a lot of rhetoric about what he's saying, which is fine. I understand that. But I would like to know how he plans to change that area when it hasn't been changed in however long that cul-de-sac has been there. There doesn't seem to be a problem with the cul-de-sac on the other end of the street, and they have probably a worse situation than we do. How are his changes going to impact the rest of us? And as far as his father owning the house next door, they're never there. They might be there for 2 weekends, 3 weekends in the summertime. And this is from my own eyes, my own viewpoint. So there's never anybody at that second house. So how could that impair parking. How could that impair his getting in and out of his driveway? There's no common sensibility to it. I want to know how his plan is going to impact that whole cul-de-sac without infringing on anybody else's property, on anybody else's parking facilities, because his company has parked in front of my house because they can't park there. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm willing to share with my neighbors. Why should one person make the decision to change that whole area? Thank you for your attention.
Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. Darlene, first of all,
Tom, you addressed
I am not,
the council.
I am the owner of the property next to me on 2381 Ventura. This discussion has nothing to do with 2381 Ventura. This discussion has nothing to do with the cul-de-sac that's at the other end, because the geometry is completely different, and the changes that have been made to it are completely
Excuse
different.
me.
There's no even consideration that needs to be given to those things. They're all completely different things. Now, in terms of explaining what needs to be done, which I have already done in my conversation with you and what I've already stated here today, what would happen is the right-of-way, as it was platted originally in the 1950s and was dedicated so that both people in front of the two properties had all the access they needed, and so that vehicles, if they were needed from an emergency standpoint, could get themselves in there, be associated, and be able to set themselves up in a manner to be able to address those things. It was platted in a certain manner. Again, as I mentioned before, people have said it's not really good compared to modern terms, but that's how it was platted. That's what we have to work with. We aren't going to change what's there, right? We're going to put it into the configuration that it was platted originally, because that's the only way that everybody gets the same equal amount of what they were intended and what they were supposed to have when the subdivision was set up. It doesn't provide 60% more usage of that area for one person and 25% more for another and 10% more, because there's no way. If you do that, you have to actually go by the plotted property lines to extend those things out, and that's going to create even more problems. So the only way that everybody gets to use that property in a public manner, no different than if you were going to do something and change something on a park or a road end or whatever, the only way everybody gets the same amount of usage to it is if you open that up and you make it all public property the way it was deeded, and you make sure that it's clear and everybody understands that, and it's enabled, and everybody and people make sure that it's being enforced.
So, if I can ask a question,
Yes.
with your handout, so your
Yes.
solution is to pave the area in front of two houses?
I would say pave that road right away
In front of the two houses?
in front of the two houses, okay? Now, I will tell you, in 2018, I gave 3 different designs for things that could be done that, so that it didn't impact the person next to me. Those were not chosen to be used. So I'm only going with this because this is what the TIA has said is the best plan for it. So I'm going by the
TIA has said the
TIA.
best plan is to pave the road right-of-way of the whole area, not just in front of two houses. So
Yeah, I'm
that's-
not here
so-
for, I've not been here for any of that. My entire discussion with council, starting on February 25th, was how do I not have to worry about having people backing up out of my property, running into other people? They haven't, but it's gonna happen. I got 80 and 90-year-old folks that are backing out of that driveway, right? It's not good, right? I shouldn't have to drive around lumber. I shouldn't have to drive around people that are assembling things in my driveway because they don't know what's driveway and what's right away. So I'm just saying, this has been confused for a long time, and I understand that nobody here, right, sees it the way that I do, and I'm okay with that, quite frankly, right? I'm not crazy. I'm asking for something for public property to be used as public property. Okay? I've been here at least as long as the last person, I won't even mention my name, as the last person, I know her well. But I've been here longer than that. The amount of usage of all of these properties is significantly more than it was in the 1960s when I started coming out here. So part of the problem is the loading on the streets now because of the size of the houses. And houses have been built, and we make changes and we allow people to build houses on properties, right, with variances that then don't support proper parking capability on those lots, okay? So now you're pushing people out into the streets, and it's going to continue to get worse. That's why the gentleman that stood up and said parking that, or paving that area or allowing parking in that circle is a good idea, and it's an idea that I came to the council with, 10 years ago and suggested, and nothing's been done. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. There's more and more people that are building bigger and bigger houses, right, and the loading is going to get worse. Thank you.
Mr. Powell? If you could speak to some of that in regards to the design.
I would like to. Could I have the traveling mic? I'll come up to the big screen.
I think Mr. Milburn has it.
Testing. All right, Council, thank you very much. I do want to point out a couple things, because Mr. Daly sees things from just a small perspective. I'm not aware of anywhere in the village where council or the village has paved the entire right-of-way. This is a pretty good example. This is the property line or right-of-way line of Ventura as it currently exists. As you can see, the village owns property in front of everyone's home. The private driveways then go across the village property. The residences maintain that. They park all the way out to here, which would be a little different than if they were parking out in the roadway out here. But from between here, this location, and this location, that's village property, paved and maintained by the resident. They call it their driveway, but it's really the approach off of the public roadway to their driveway, and this is their driveway. This is a very unique area, as Mr. Daly has pointed out. We have 3 homes, 3 properties here that have to be served over this part of the property, over this part of the roadway, and there's a section of road, there's a section of roadway right here that their driveway comes across and comes into this area of the paved roadway. This property comes across and comes back out to the road right of way. This property comes out to the pavement. Mr. Daly doesn't appreciate this side of his same cul-de-sac, the exact same dimensions, same geometric, same everything, and there are 3 homes here that access the end of this, what I call a hammerhead, with their driveways. These 2 actually share a driveway coming out, and they have the same issue, same geometrics, same ownership that Mr. Daly's talking about. If council were to pave the right-of-way, as Mr. Daly's talking about, all the way out to this property line right here, pave all this right-of-way, the same thing would have to be done on this side, and there's only 8 feet or 5 to 8 feet between that property line and a garage. There would be no place to park because their entire driveway is out in the right-of-way. Any car whatsoever, any visiting that home is parked out on village-owned right-of-way. So it is a very complicated issue, and it'd be really nice. I showed this, and this is all to scale. This is the requirements now. If this subdivision were to come before the village now, there would be this cul-de-sac. The right-of-way is 60-foot dimensioned. The actual pavement is out here 50 feet from the center of the cul-de-sac. And there's a 10-foot area that everybody's driveway would go across village property to access the property. That's a very normal, modern-day cul-de-sac. as Mr. Daly pointed out, this can't be built here. It could be built if council really wanted to, that you could actually condemn this property and make that cul-de-sac exactly the way the county and the state designs it now. I don't believe anyone here, including Mr. Daly, would be very happy with that. I believe that it's a very hard decision. Mr. Daly has problems that he perceives, and it's just a perception in my opinion. His driveway comes out and accesses the roadway. His neighbor comes out and accesses the roadway. All of these people do. Their driveways necessarily come to a very close to sharing as you approach the end of the roadway itself. The police chief, the previous police chief, and I came up with this design with the help of the Commerce Township Fire Department and emergency vehicles to be able to allow us to access that area and do a turnaround at the end of Ventura geometrically. It certainly doesn't solve Mr. Daly's problem. This side of the site, however, if the council were to pave all of the right-of-way, it'd be just like paving all of this right up to the right-of-way line. If you were to pave that, that would be paved 5 feet off of the neighbor's garage. And I think that would be unfair to this side to do what Mr. Daly wants done on this side. It can certainly answer any questions council might have.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
2377 Ventura, Tom Daly. I understand the information that he's put, that the engineer has put forward. In fact, the design that he and the previous police chief came up with, again, if you look at the pictures that I've submitted you since 2018, isn't working, okay? So rather than going another 10 years and making me drive around vehicles and worry about hitting cars, again, my question is, the best alternative is to pave the right-of-way. Again, I'm speaking specifically about what's in front of my property. I'm not here talking about what's on the north side. I've stated that several times. I'm not talking about what's going on down at the end of the circle or down at the end. I'm talking specifically about the public property that's in front of my house. There's no reason why it could not be paved to alleviate the problem. It will make things clearer. It will make things able to be enforced properly, okay? And it's the only other alternative, it's the only other suggestion that's come into play to be able to resolve the issue that you guys can't dispute based on the pictures, the hundreds of photos that you guys have from the last 5 years. And not even including the other hundreds that you have from prior to that. So I get there's defensive nature here about what he put in place and how that is the right way to go, but it's not working. Right? That's how we got here. It's not working. It's still not working. So I'm asking for somebody to do something to make something work, which is to pave it, make it clear what's public property, what's private property, and to enforce what's public property and what's private property to the Michigan state laws. It's that simple. I'm not asking for anything other than the law. Public property is public property. Park the way that it says to park in the MCL, whatever it is, 257 or whatever, and enforce it to that. That's all I'm asking. It really shouldn't be that hard of a decision. Thank you.
Edward Kale, 2340 Ventura Drive. I've got a couple other neighbors chirping in. They want some clarity. Are you referring to the Solano Ventura Island where they may allow parking or not, or want parking? May I? Right here?
Yes.
You mean pave that? Is that?
Considering it as possible parking, how it's done, whether it be gravel or...
So it wouldn't be like the football field, only stripe it during the tiki night? Oh, so you're actually talking about,
It's an idea.
oh, okay. Well, when do we vote on that?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Maya Goodison, 2373 Ventura Drive. I'm here with an alternative solution because we're only coming up with problems, so I feel like a solution might be better. On these two properties, right here, we share a mailbox, like the three mailboxes all sit right here, and this is technically a two-way. So Mr. Daly has to come in to get his mail to then come into his own driveway, which may be the problem that he's seeing. There's also other strips of mailboxes that are also all shared on this side as well. So it might make more sense if he finds it fit to get his mail here. That way he can curve into his driveway, instead of having to go into the wrong way of the one-way to then get into his driveway. Yeah, that's it.
Tom Daly, 2377 Ventura. Maya, thank you so much for putting that forward. I really do appreciate the suggestion. Unfortunately, the post office would not allow me to do that if I wanted to anyways, and it really is not what the issue is. It's not me getting into my property from a standpoint of getting my mail or anything. It's trying to get in and out of it well into the right of way. But I do appreciate the suggestion, and I thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing it.
Mr. Daly, could you address the council, please? We have no others. Motion to close? Motion to close? Motion Duff, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's closed. I have one quick question before we move on to number 6. This is for Chief. I know it's a short time that you've been here. You might have some records previously. How many calls have the police gotten regarding issues with parking and
In the last
concerns?
almost 2 years since I've been here, we've responded to one parking complaint that was called in, I think, by Mr. Daly. There was a black roofing truck, I think, that was parked near the Goodison's driveway. We sent an officer up there. We educated the person about parking where they were currently parking, and then they moved. We haven't had any other issues saying, or we haven't had any other calls regarding these hundreds of pictures that I've seen that were given to me by Chief Ellsworth. I don't know how many of those hundreds of pictures, I don't know how many of the hundreds of times, if anyone's called us when they were actually taking place and the people were actually parking up there. So I don't know whether, I can't speak to that. But I know the one time that we did get a call up there regarding the parking, the one time we addressed it, we spoke to the person that was parked there, and they moved. I've had one complaint since I've been here in almost 2 years.
Thank you. Number 6, other business. Any other business?
I have nothing else.
You have nothing?
No, we're continuing to work hard on the budget. We have a regularly scheduled council meeting next week, and we'll present the final draft of the budget to you, hopefully for your approval.
7,
Motion to adjourn.
motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I say one thing? Say it. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your interest and your involvement in coming for this special meeting. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.